CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. All right, folks, this is a really special episode. The man you see on screen, and if you're just listening, his name is Tyne, and he is with Pro Reliability Solutions. He's got a great book out there. It's 40 lessons over 40 years. He is someone that I met in person a few years back. Finally, we traded some things online. I met him at a Reliable Plant conference. Then I got to hang out with him at the Mainstream UK Summit last year in Birmingham. And today we're going to welcome him back because we're going to get into this fascinating report that was created by Mainstream, and it's the state of maintenance and reliability in the UK. So that's important because a lot of you out there have asked me, hey, what's going on? What's different in different parts of the world when it comes to maintenance and reliability, asset management? So long-winded intro. Tyne, welcome back to CMMS Radio, my friend.
Absolutely, Greg. No, really glad to be back and good to be online and having this chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we were just talking before we hit record, and when reports come out like this, and one of the things I really liked last year when, Steve Morris, Ian, Chris Carroll, all the incredible team at Mainstream, when they were bringing me over for the UK Summit, the first one ever, they had a report last year, and they started explaining to me what goes into that report. And I kind of want to let you explain it rather than me, because we were just talking about it. So what sets this report and the approach to this report apart from what we typically see out here on the interwebs and throughout the world?
Yeah, no, great question to start with there, Greg. I think it's more, it's not a literature review. This is information, this is data, knowledge, experience from the coalface. And what Mainstream were able to set up were peer-to-peer interviews. There were probably over 100 of those. They had 5 roundtable discussions. Some of those were online. Some of those were face-to-face roundtables. I went along to an event in Manchester and Birmingham and helped facilitate some of those and got the questioning and the discussions really going. And it's, for me, it's a report right from the people who are struggling day to day with maintenance and reliability issues in their facility. They've got the experience, and these are business leaders, practitioners. It was the whole community that got together to pull this together. And personally, I only downloaded the report yesterday. I've had the opportunity to read through it, and I don't think we've seen a report like this in the UK ever. I think this just really absolutely nails where we currently are. And I think for people listening online, if you get the opportunity to download it, massive recommendation.
Yeah, and just a quick shout out. There were some research partners on that. One was SKF, another one was Accruent, and
that's right.
It's really a comprehensive report. It's got good, not just anecdotal type, synthetic type data, and it's based a lot on these roundtables and the things you've just described. But when we get into the percentages and the kind of the overarching story that this tells, it's not an uncommon story that and I would say you and the practitioners that I have the honor and blessing to know, that I get to talk to and kind of learn through osmosis. I'm not out there doing shop turnarounds. I'm not out there doing a comprehensive assessment of a facility, a frontline team versus mid-level management, upper management, and all those things. But I'm trying to gather it and be that added resource. But you happen to be the host of the roundtables. And what I like about that is that not only do you know what to ask, you know what's new and different and slightly kind of nuanced to that specific let's say industry they work in, regional location and all that. So I guess what I'm getting at is the story hasn't changed much, but what we can get to as to the impacts and the causes to these crazy percentages on reactive states of maintenance and the kind of things that a reliability professional wants to essentially eradicate, right? Get into a place, help them get moving forward, and like work yourself out of a job. There's more to it. And we were just talking about it. What do you think is at the heart of the constant challenge to achieve better maintenance and reliability? Those are two separate things, folks, that are inextricably linked. What do you think is really driving that continued challenge, just reappearing?
Yeah. I mean, from the report and from the roundtable discussions, I would say one of the key overarching themes is that here in the UK, we don't have a reliability problem. We actually have a cultural problem. And, you know, the technology's there, the methodologies, the right tools, but we're currently struggling with leadership challenges and changes, the reactive cultures that we still have, poor alignment within an organization. We can go on. You know, there were so many things that came out of those conversations, open, honest, from the heart, you know, things that people are struggling with. And I think that culture, the failure to sustain a really strong reliability and maintenance culture is what companies are struggling with.
Yeah, and when folks, I encourage you to go through the report and go through it slowly, because there's a lot of information and takeaways that are packaged extremely well, but you got to give yourself an opportunity to kind of connect those dots. I'm not saying that you don't get it if you rip through it, but maybe make a pass and then go back and kind of think about these things independently. It's going to feature, in my view, based on my first read through, the skilled labor kind of people that do this stuff. That's a challenge. You got people retiring. That's not new to anybody, but it's ever present and even more problematic. People are, I should say, organizations themselves, it appears that they still favor we have an emergency, let's approve that spend, as opposed to, we've got this great program, it's starting to work, and it just dissipates. You said the magic word, sustainable. It's not a sustained practice, because everybody can make these gains when they do the right things, identify those issues, start fixing them, getting everybody moving, but it will invariably start to fall apart unless that culture becomes the glue that sustains it, right? It becomes a thing about the company. What are you finding then across the roundtables? That is there a commonality between, say, for example, the frontline, midline, and top level management that they all see, or do they each have different perspectives on the challenges they're still facing?
I think there are different perspectives across the full organisation. You know, right down at the coalface, the technicians are trying to get work that's being planned and scheduled. Then the work gets cancelled or it gets deferred. The maintenance program gets deferred. You know, there's the production teams and the maintenance teams are still actually clashing. You know, production is king, and we're still trying to maintain these production levels, whilst the maintenance teams are trying to stop equipment and do the maintenance. And so, and right through the organisation, you know, they're looking at the numbers. They're trying to meet budgets, and I mentioned it in that first few sentences. It's the alignment. You know, we don't see that alignment from the top of the organisation right down to the coalface, Greg, and that's one of the key things that came out of the discussions.
Yeah, and the percentages. I mean, so it's 55% of UK maintenance budgets are spent on reactive activities. That's a lot.
That's versus that global benchmark. I think 35% was the global benchmark. It is a lot. And yet I think most organisations actually do know. They already know that reactive maintenance is the most expensive and most unsustainable part of the budget. I don't think it's the issue is not that people aren't aware of this anymore. It's just that, again, it's coming back to that organisational behaviour that is allowing 55% of budgets to be spent reactively. And yeah, I'm going to try and avoid keep using the word culture if I can help it, but that's really where we're at.
Well, and I think a lot of people use and maybe even misuse the term, but what we're really talking about when you say culture, and I'm taking a stab at this, right?
Yeah,
I think what we're talking about is the cohesiveness of
yeah,
a team, but what we're talking about is the entire organizational team, and that's not
correct.
easy to do. So if you think about sports, right? You're in the UK. Um, Biggest sport in the UK, no two ways about it, is going to be football, right?
Yeah,
We call it soccer.
yeah,
So we're not talking about the NFL or anything of that. And
no,
when you look at an entire organization, right? Like you look what the two guys did when they bought Wrexham and what's going on.
mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about, right? That people are aligned, they're supporting one another, they're thriving in their own roles. When problems come up, instead of the blame game, they're going, "Hey, how do we fix this?" And in those environments, operations and maintenance are not fighting for, "Hey, we need to do 3 hours of maintenance," and production and operations is going, "We can't do that right now," and
So
maintenance is going, "Okay, if we don't, you're going to be down for 2 days and it's going to hit sometime in the next 2 days."
yes,
And
absolutely.
the when the culture's right and they go, "Yep, we understand why, we know," and then we've done appropriate planning and then scheduling, right, as two separate
Yeah,
things, depending on size of organization, might be two different people. This is what we should always be chasing and maintaining, and we could
yeah,
switch it into other things like well, I was going to cite military, but let's skip that for right now. But it's the ability to move as a comprehensive unit, the entire thing. So think of these organizations as a giant caterpillar that need to
yeah.
go somewhere. Is that kind of fair stuff that I'm saying?
Absolutely, Greg. Yeah, I mean, we often refer to it, we call it reliability is a team sport, and everybody in that team they've got to be have a level of awareness. We've got to talk the language of reliability and maintenance and work together to win the game. If we're talking about football or soccer, we've got to work together as a team to win the game. And there's a goal, there's an objective, and that's how we've got to be in reliability, But whilst industry still puts reliability into the maintenance department, and if reliability stays there, we will always have reactive cultures. It's got to be across the board.
Yeah, and it's pretty tough to fully eliminate reactive states, but what we want is reactive states that are rare, you know,
Yeah, that we're
uh,
in control of. We need to be in
so,
control.
right, so that because we can be in a constant state of readiness, but if we're doing maintenance in a way that really is focused on the assets and
Yeah,
what we're really trying to do and conveying the risk so that we can become more reliable with availability and we can get more throughput and all that good stuff. Um, that's what we're really trying to do. And I think, people talk about eliminate downtime. You're not going to eliminate it. You're
no,
you're you're going to have less of it, because then we
yeah,
start getting
exactly.
to some of the metrics and KPIs. Did you see by any chance, and I don't remember if this was in the report, but when you were doing the roundtables with everyone, were there different measures at different organizations where maybe one is focusing on OEE versus another one is really more focused on mean time to repair, mean time between failures? Because there's some glossing over of those, but did you see variance in what people are focused on?
Yeah, there was definitely because I mean the round tables were made up of all different industry types. The different verticals, water industry, food and beverage, highways, the roads, the road network. We had people from different organisations who all had probably different KPIs that they were measuring. But again, the key theme came back to that. We are predominantly reactive, and all of their different measures were measuring the fact that they are working in a reactive environment. But I mean, OEE was a key theme that came out. Some companies weren't measuring quality; they were saying quality is always 100%. in fact it wasn't. There was rework that was being performed. Some of the availability that was being measured probably wasn't as accurate as it could have been. And I think, we've got to be careful when we get to the KPIs and we start measuring ourselves, is that we're being true to ourselves with the key performance indicators. I think it can be easy to change numbers to make yourself look like you're better than you actually are. But we've got to be, if we have to be totally honest with ourselves, because if we're not going to be able to identify those areas of improvement. But there were different measures, but the themes were the same.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, if you're at uni, for example, you're there to learn and have these great conversations and start to formulate your own ability to think critically, but you got to get that A.
That's right.
You got to get that A. You got to get those grades. And that is not always what should be happening, because that's performative as opposed to real. And when we get an indicator that we might think is going to make us look bad, we should almost run in the opposite direction and say, hey, this is trying to tell me something. This is trying to tell us something. And that's my real job. Everybody's they're kind of lulled into, oh, you're doing great. You're hitting all your numbers. Well, this is still happening and it's costing us money. We're here to make money.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
The wrong KPIs just ruins everything. And the KPIs are different across the org. And that's where some of that alignment gets kind of difficult, disruptive. Did you have any feedback during the roundtables, or were people talking about the role of finance in contributing to, I want to be gentle about this, but I want to be real, contributing to the disruption, the misalignment, where they're still not understanding what's behind the numbers on the balance sheet as it relates to maintenance, which is going to be our major contributor to reliability. And they make cuts either unbeknownst to them, or they're not seeing the difference between the reactive state costing so much and leaving so much upwards. I recently talked to Alex Boland, digital thinker, and he talked about the invisible balance sheet. This is not in your report, but I want to cite that because there's huge amounts of money hiding behind the numbers. Did you get any of that feedback in the roundtables?
The finances were touched upon, and I know I had some one-to-one discussions during the breaks. We talked about the cost of maintenance, the cost of maintenance versus the plant replacement value as a measure, and some organisations aren't really aware of that as a little bit of a benchmarking number that you can measure against. And that there's definitely money that's hidden from people, and we're not aware of where that is in terms of what we're trying to spend within the maintenance budgets. Some organisations aren't fully aware of where all the maintenance expenditure is going. They're not capturing the numbers at the right level in the hierarchy. So in your CMMS system, quite often people were talking about they'd have a bucket of maintenance money that was being recorded at the plant level, and we weren't able to get down to the asset level to understand where the maintenance expenditure was being, where the money was being spent. So finance is definitely. It's got to be discussed, hasn't it? We've got to get to the understanding of where money and where the dollar is being spent. Definitely.
Yeah, and we want to be mindful here that as much as we want to say, "Oh man, they don't get it," well, that's not going to help anybody. How about I wonder if there's a way I could help them further understand this. And know going into it, it's not going to be a 5-minute meeting. It's not going to be a couple of weeks. It's going to take time, but it's possible. It's just, I think a lot of people encounter too many barriers. They got work to do. They're running a business too. And sometimes we need to offer a little bit of grace there. And because I go pretty hard sometimes. I'll talk a bunch of mad nonsense and, they don't get it. They just cut stuff and they're ruining everything. But if they don't get it, maybe it's more important that we help them get it, and in a proper way as opposed to a forceful way, because you're not going to get anywhere if you're bitching and moaning.
No, that's right. And I had a conversation with a business leader just a few weeks ago, Greg, and their challenge is that their maintenance budgets are being blown out of the water. They're spending too much money on maintenance, and their initial knee-jerk reaction was going to be, let's cut the maintenance budgets. We need to cut them, and we need to get in control of what we're spending. And I was like, whoa, don't rush into cutting the budgets, because that could have a detrimental impact on your overall asset reliability, and then you'll end up spending more money. I said, what we need to do is, how can we improve the asset reliability? And we looked at the OEE numbers. The OEE numbers were very low. The plants weren't performing. They were overspending. They're just not in control of the maintenance costs. But we've got to just, let's not do the knee-jerk reactions. Let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the OEE. Let's break in and understand where are the losses. What are they currently doing? What's the culture? And let's drive reliability. Because I think if we can improve the asset reliability, improve the OEE, then we'll get in control of our maintenance spend. But I'm seeing organisations just wanting to cut budgets. That's the first thing they want to do.
And sometimes that's quick, easy, and it makes an initial impact, but the real pain is hiding there, waiting for you right around the corner. And
Correct.
If we have a budget, fill in the number in maintenance, and maintenance is doing the right activities, that cost becomes an investment, because the other thing, OEE or not, right? And again, I'm parroting what I get to learn from people. I haven't been in a plant where I did this myself. I've heard stories about software I sold or somebody helped them. But if maintenance is the primary driver of reliability, thus availability of the assets, you can get into your asset performance and all that nonsense, which I'm not saying it's bad stuff. It's good stuff, but it all shows up in the total cost per unit. And if that total cost per unit goes down, use any number you want. Cost per unit is $1,000 and we get it down to $900 or $950 through proper maintenance, better availability, more throughput, on and on like that. We just put a ton of money in the bank.
Absolutely.
A ton of money. And that's what it needs to always be connected to. We sometimes do way too many shortcuts as human beings because we're bombarded. We're running a business, the CFO or the maintenance manager. Oh, I got to get out of here at 4 because my kid's got a soccer game or whatever it might be. So for everyone, in fairness, we're trying to show pathways and opportunities to see this and start getting to work on it. So the report, just to remind everyone, it's by Mainstream. It's called The State of Maintenance and Reliability in the UK. You can find that on the Mainstream website. Also, if you get into things in there and you think you have these problems, maybe you weren't part of these roundtables and those numbers, those percentages and challenges are speaking to you and you're like, I think we have that issue. You can reach out to a guy like Gary, find him online. It's Gary Tyne, Gary, obviously, and then Tyne, Tyne. He's with Pro-Reliability, so Pro Reliability Solutions. And you'll also catch this guy at Mainstream UK Summit. It's 20 through 21 October 2026 in Birmingham at Millennium Point again. Beautiful venue. So I hope that's okay, Gary, because I know you can help people understand what's behind those numbers and even get them some help with what they're going to do.
Of course, absolutely. And we've got a really good network as well, and we can bring others in to support where needed. But more than happy to if anybody wants to reach out and have a chat and dig into their own numbers, more than happy to support that. Thanks for that, Greg.
And it really, Gary, I think people like you and the people that I know some of them as well, are legitimate, high integrity operators. And that's why I think you're a great place for people to start, because if you can't help, you probably know who can. And if you can help and they need other resources, you know who those people are, the Will Oceans of the world and on like this. So, Gary Tyne, thank you so much for jumping on with me. Short notice. The report just came out. Thanks for all the hard work you did with the roundtables and helping us understand a little bit better how we can do better maintenance practices to become more reliable. Thanks for being on CMMS Radio, my brother.
Excellent. Great to be online again with you, Greg, and hopefully we meet face to face again very soon.
Let's hope so.
Thank you.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.